Hello and welcome to the big picture. One of the key areas of governance on which every government will be observed keenly and judged is the area of education. Every government attempts to put its own distinct mark on this key area. The NDA government in its last 1 year has been making attempts to put its own distinctive mark in this field too. We at the big picture here have been looking for the last few days at various areas and sectors of governance and analyzing the performance and achievements and initiatives during the last 1 year. Today we will look at the area of education and discuss and analyze what has happened in this key sector. The NDA government has faced criticism for some major reduction in funds in this sector to the tune of over rupees 14,000 crores. The government meanwhile has embarked on initiating changes in the education policy and bring about reforms in this sector. Today we will look at all this and discuss what has happened in this sector and where it is headed towards in the coming year. To discuss this, I have with me Professor B.B. Bhattacharya, former Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Zoya Hassan, National Fellow at the Indian Council for Social Science Research, Professor Bidyut Chakrabarti, Department of Political Science, Delhi University, and also a former Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Apurvanand, also of Delhi University, and Ashok Tandon, senior journalist, who was also the media advisor to former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Welcome to all of you. Professor Bhattacharya, if you look at this last 1 year, what are your thoughts on this and what are your concerns on this?
Unfortunately, education doesn't appear to be among the top priorities of the present government. All the initiatives are in foreign policy maximum. Some bit in defense, some bit in economic policy, some bit of federalism. But we can't single out a major step in education. On the other hand, Prime Minister last year Independence Day speech mentioned that skill development is the key to India's future. Considering that, the budget's allocation has not been commensurate with that expectation. But the government's justification is, after 14th Finance Commission, more resources are transferred to the states. So, education being a concurrent subject, states have more resource, so they can. But the critical issue is, we know by experience, while some states, notably in southern states, they spend reasonably good share in education. Many other states, when they get resource, they don't spend on education. So in that sense, I would say it has not been a very healthy development.
Okay, it's not been. Professor Chakrabarti, would you agree with that? That despite all the talk, the focus doesn't seem to be on education. That's what Professor Bhattacharya feels.
I partly agree with Professor Bhattacharya. It is true that education hasn't received the limelight which it should have. Though Prime Minister Modi asked for the importance of skill development in his speeches. But I appreciate this government simply because this government is trying to give a direction to the contemporary educations. I think education was directionless at one point of time. I mean, you may not agree with this proposition, but I think the very fact that it has been attempted to give a direction, to me, is praiseworthy. And second point is that we should not forget that there are certain small steps which this government has taken since it assumed power, especially with regard to the withdrawal of 4-year undergraduate program in Delhi University. Because had that continued, probably we would have it would have been disastrous for the education sector as a whole. So I think we should not undermine the contribution of the government by taking a very firm steps by withdrawing this particular FYUP from Delhi University. And then plus the attempt of introducing choice-based credit system. I think we should not also take the credit out of the government, because this choice-based credit system will certainly give a lot of advantage to students. Whether it is practicable at the present juncture is a question that we can debate. But I think as an initiative, I personally appreciate this effort very clearly, because this is something which is remarkable, and
Professor
that way I
Chakrabarty,
think,
sorry.
the government may not have spent enough money in education, but at least the government has given certain specific directions, for which I appreciate
What
the
is
present
this?
government headed by Modi.
What is this direction you're talking about? What are the specific directions
No, I
you
mean,
think?
first of all, now at least, no, for instance, if you look at the research in history, for instance, and as a student of history, I would certainly suggest that now the government is trying to give a direction whereby we would like to, look at the indigenous sources of history. I mean, we have not been able to give adequate attention to these sources, which to me are very critical to conceptualize, Indian or India as a nation state. So I think this is the one direction. Secondly, the fact that FYP 4-year undergraduate program is not adequate insofar as India is concerned. So this is a very significant direction which we got from the present government. Thirdly,
yes.
The attempt to introduce choice-based credit system is also another direction which we should explore, whether that is appropriate in regard to Indian context or not. I mean, you may not agree with the outcome, but at least the fact that government has taken specific initiatives to implement all these specific steps is admirable.
Okay, Professor Zoya?
Yes.
No, direction. What is your concern? Obviously you have concern, you've been writing about this also. Is this direction what Professor Chakrabarty is talking about, is a concern? Is the slashing of funds which is happening in the education sector is a major concern?
I think that
where does the concerns, your concerns lie?
Well, there are three sets of issues, I would say. One is, of course, the cut in funding, which is a matter of great concern because there is cut in funding for higher education, as indeed for the SSA, which is the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. Now, the government has been taking the view that under the 14th Finance Commission, this government has been taking the view that under the 14th Finance Commission, states will be putting in funds. But clearly we know from experience that especially in North India, where education has really been lagging behind and school education has been lagging behind, it is actually central initiative and central funding which has given an impetus to school education in these areas. Now, with
incidentally, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and midday meals program are centrally funded programs.
Absolutely. So the cutback affects them. Yes. But they're taking the view that the 14th Finance Commission, states will have more funds and they would be investing in it. But the point is that, as you said, many of these programs are central schemes and they need funding. Then on higher education, it is well known that there is some cut in funding. So that's one area of concern. The second area of very serious concern really is the proposal, a very disturbing proposal, to introduce a Central Universities Act, which would centralize the functioning of all central universities. Now, this is not done anywhere. I mean, can you imagine, let us say, in any country, 30 or 50 universities being run on the basis of one legislation or on the basis of one set of policies, and especially in a country with the kind of
syllabus.
And well, I'm coming to that. With the kind of diversity that we have, you can't possibly run universities, on the basis of one common syllabus, one common program. And then what is also very disturbing in this Central Universities Act is the proposal for transfer of students. The credit-based system within a university can work. For example, the Jawaharlal Nehru University, students are allowed to take courses in other faculties. Students in the School of Social Sciences can take optional courses in the School of Languages or in the School of International Studies. But somebody in Delhi University taking a course, let's say an optional course in Lucknow University, or let's say Central University of Hyderabad, how is all this going to work? And then the proposal of transfer of faculty. That is, I'm afraid, an outrageous proposal. The very idea that faculty can be transferred from one university to another, it doesn't happen. Even, for example, I would say the California system, which has 12 universities. Even there, you cannot, faculty will not be transferred from one campus to another campus. This just doesn't happen. So I think autonomy is a big issue. That's a very, very major issue. And the third area of concern is that I think the whole Indian education has been in some ways has been very successful in providing access to students from underprivileged backgrounds who did not have access to education. Now, that's only possible if there's state funding and we have more and more publicly funded institutions, whereas the trend in higher education is towards privatization, which I think is something that needs to be reversed rather than to be taken further.
But this process of privatization started at least 5 years
See,
or 10,
the
10 years
point is
back.
now, no,
The
I think
UPA government started
if I may,
that and this government
I'm
is
sorry
continuing.
to interrupt you. I think at the moment we are discussing this government and we're discussing this 1 year. Now, what was done by the previous government can be discussed separately. But
No,
I think that
just to give a perspective,
it doesn't take away from the fact. Well, but this government can reverse it.
Okay.
There's so many things they have reversed that the previous government was doing.
Okay.
I see no reason why they can't reverse
There are also so many things which the previous government was doing, which they attacked, and now they're carrying it forward.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, Professor Apurvanand, what are your concerns? It's very interesting. Professor Chakrabarti says one of the when I asked him what are the specific directions that the new government is taking, he spoke of research and history, bringing in indigenous elements into this whole thing. I mean, what are your concerns?
I think it's very unfortunate that we are seeking direction from the government on how to research and what should be our method or concerns in our discipline. This is, I think, abdication of responsibility on part of academics. Secondly, what I see as concern is over-centralization through acts Professor Joya Hassan was referring to. Introduction of CBCS, which is an outrageous and ill-thought proposal and very rushed proposal, because the government is saying through UGC that central universities should introduce it from this session only, which is again a very suicidal thing, like four-year undergraduate program, which was overturned. And we are going to make lakhs and lakhs of students guinea pigs. That's what it's going to do. Thirdly, very interestingly, in the pronouncements of Prime Minister or the Minister of MHRD, the word knowledge doesn't figure anywhere. So what has happened to Indian education system? What is going to happen to research, or what is going to happen to teacher education? If you look at Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which was merged in Right to Education, which was a central commitment, and if you look at the requirement of teachers and teacher education, the amount allocated is 150 crore, which means that per teacher you are going to get a meager amount of 450 rupees. So how are we going to educate or train our teachers is a serious question. So what I see, if I look back and see what has happened in the last 1 year, I see directionlessness. There's no direction. Okay. The 2013 Act of UPA is being pursued. It's not a new act. Central University
Act. Universities Act.
The CBCS is an old proposal, and it is in vogue in some universities. It's being pursued. So it's an old thing. Corrosion of institutional processes.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that, Apurvanand. Ashokji, what I mean, when they're talking, all of them are discussing, when they express their concerns, they're talking of centralization. That this government is increasingly going towards centralization of education, one. Second thing is, where money has to be put in education at the lower levels, their money is being taken away. So do you think that this is something which is a well thought out way of functioning?
No. First of all, I agree with my learned friends that funds are now being given to the states.
Right. But they're also expressing concerns about how it will be used or it will be utilized.
I'll come to the point. See, if you look at our education in the last 68 years, central universities have developed into very good centers of learning, whereas the schools and colleges in the states have suffered.
Absolutely.
Therefore,
state universities are...
Yes. And therefore, there has been a demand from the states that why do you centralize the funds for the central universities And why don't you give those funds to us? Therefore, the suggestion of the Finance Commission report that why not allocate more and more funds and keep them at the disposal of the state, so that our education system at the state level, at the grassroots level, look at the condition of the schools and colleges in rural areas. Look at the condition in rural areas. See, problem is all of us are urban-centric people. We talk only about very big things about education. But the fact remains that the infrastructure of the education in this country is lacking in rural areas.
Absolutely.
And therefore, putting more and more money at the disposal of the states will help the states, because otherwise states will start complaining, as they have been complaining in the past. So therefore, I think this notion that the budget allocation has been reduced is misplaced, because more and more funds have been placed at the disposal of the states. So therefore, now it is incumbent upon the state government and the local bodies, and so therefore funding is being decentralized. So I don't see anywhere where funding is being centralized. Funding has been centralized in the past, as a result of which all the central universities have developed into big centers of learning. And all there is, at least I think there should be a chance for the states to develop their own universities.
And so on the one hand, you're saying that on the one hand, the funding has been decentralized, yes, but planning, implementation is centralized.
No, it's a concurrent subject.
No, when you're talking of the Central Universities Act, like
yes, therefore, let me complete. I have read a statement from the HRD minister that she wants to put in place a national education policy by December end. And for that, all the states as well as the stakeholders, they have been asked to send in their proposals and suggestions. So I think let's wait for them. Let the national education policy be put before the nation for discussion. Then we can talk about those issues. But right now, the major issue is that we have neglected education at the state and at the lower level.
Okay, Professor Apurvanand, you want to
Yeah, I wanted to react to this suggestion. Firstly, I would like to say that how do we know that states had demanded this money? First, where's the evidence? There is no evidence. You are saying that Central is transferring money to states, but is it an earmarked amount or earmarked fund for education? It is not.
That's where the problem lies.
It's not. Secondly,
no, but the whole is competent to earmark those funds.
Let me complete.
I mean, why do we underestimate our state governments in a federal structure? Are they not concerned about the education?
Let me complete.
Experience shows even Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which was 90% funded by the center, 10% by the states, Bihar did not implement it, saying, I don't even have 10%.
Then fault lies with our federal
that's
structure.
That's what I'm saying.
Where we have put the education in concurrent list. Are we suggesting that the education should be in the central list?
Let me complete.
Okay.
What was the struggle for right to education? It was a long struggle, 100-year-old struggle. And when it was coming to, it is a tottering thing, and it is yet to find its feet. And barely in its fourth year, you deprive it of funds and say that now we have transferred funds to states. So it was a central commitment, and people had demanded it and fought for it, and now you are withdrawing from it.
Okay, so, okay, Professor Bhattacharya. No, the other concern which we often keep hearing, people have been writing, many of you sitting here also have been writing about it, about ideology becoming, coming into education, ideology becoming more important than education, education becoming a theater of, for political conflicts and things like that. Is this something new?
Root cause of this problem is giving too much importance to politics and bureaucracy in educational system. An educational institution should be empowered to design their own curricula, syllabus. Why should there be a directive, leave alone HRD? I won't even encourage directive from UGC. Why should UGC tell a university with competent teachers, this should be your syllabus? Though I must confess, at one time I was also chairman of many such committees. But then we said, these are possibilities you may consider. We never said it has to be mandatory. Now what is unfortunate is, this attempt, if you once start it, with government will change. Each government will use this clause. Now it is my policy. You make your syllabus, curricula adjusted to this. It's a dangerous for education.
Okay. Zoya, on the same issue.
On the issue of ideology.
On the issue of ideology. You know, you have also been writing and expressing your views on that. But is this something which is new?
Well, you see, we can't, it would be difficult to have an education system which would be completely free of ideology, because after all, ideologies emanate from ideas.
Exactly.
And an education is about ideas. It's about critical thinking. But I think there is an attempt, obviously, to push a certain ideology. An ideology which is the Hindutva ideology, because after all, this government, the BJP government, it's a BJP RSS government, and the BJP RSS is known to be committed to a certain idea of India. They're known to be committed to the promotion of what they consider to be Hindu nationalist ideas, Hindu nationalist icons of the pre-independence period as well as the post-independence period. So for a very long time, right-wing parties such as the BJP in India as well as elsewhere have always taken a very strong interest in education, because it is through education that they would have the opportunity to promote their ideas. Now, in the case of BJP, it just thinks that the kind of education that we've had, which I think is a very modern secular education, is not an education that they would support, and they think that Indian education system and the Indian intelligentsia has been dominated by the left and center left, and therefore they want to rid all institutions of people who subscribe to that kind of that kind of pluralist, secular, progressive thinking. And therefore, one of their major goals, which they have already started on clearly, is an attempt to appoint people who represent the ideology that they consider to be...
Professor Chakrabarti, would you agree with what Zoya is saying? Is there such an attempt?
No. Yeah, I think we are getting scared unnecessarily, because so far we have been used to one kind of approach to history, society, and polity. But now there is another kind of approach which is coming up, and people seem to be scared because that sort of approach was never pushed earlier. So I am not worried at all. When Zoya is talking about the right-wing approach to education, I mean, that was put under the carpet for ages. Now probably the time has come when we need to look at those approach critically. And I think in a way it's good that this particular government has given that has created that kind of circumstances where we are talking not only about the conventional or the prevalent ideological approaches to education so far. We are thinking in terms of other alternatives. So
what are the other alternatives?
I think I welcome this kind of effort.
Professor Chakrabarti,
I am not at all scared.
Professor Chakrabarti, what are the other alternatives?
I appreciate Ashok ji.
No, Professor Chakrabarti, what are the other alternatives?
Before the BJP government came into power, the left alternatives became very prominent, and the people who are talking about the non-left or right-wing ideological perspectives were usually booed out. So I mean, this is a situation where both the left and the right-wingers, can have a play together and can explore areas of interest according to their choice.
Okay.
So I think this is a very good occasion. People belonging to different ideological perspectives.
So what,
yes,
Professor Chakrabarti, from what you are saying, it is quite it's evident that some of the complaint or some of the concerns people express that education has now become a theater for political conflicts. From what you are saying, that there was this kind of an ideology prevalent now there will be another kind of... Yes,
no, I was just...
I'll come to you, Ashok.
You see...
No, it is not. Mr. The point I'm trying to make, that education is a...
No, Zoya wanted to intervene.
Education is a place where you can test different kinds of ideas.
Okay.
Where you test different kind of ideas. And
okay.
You can explore
Zoya wants
ideas,
to...
you can explore
ideas.
1 second, Professor Chakrabarti.
Within the university.
Sorry?
Ideas should emanate from within the university, not imposed from above.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I mean,
that's what you wanted to make.
No, but can I just add to what Professor Bhattacharya said? I think which he put it very well. But there's this other point that we need to really look at why is it that over the last 60, 65 years, right-wing ideas and right-wing intelligentsia has really not been able to produce, credible history, credible social science. You don't have to depend on the state. There was no reason why right-wing, I mean, we really don't have very good right-wing social science in India. Whereas if you look at the United States or you look at Britain, you
that's
do
most,
have...
That's most unfortunate. That's most unfortunate. We
you
have
don't
not
need
been
to
able to
depend on the
explore
state
that
to do
area
that.
of history at all.
Yeah, okay.
But that doesn't have to depend on the state.
That's most unfortunate. I said this is an occasion.
So this is an occasion.
This is an occasion when we can explore both the aspects, both right-wing and left-wing.
Okay, Apurvanand?
But there's something missing in the whole right-wing perspective, which is why it has not been able to develop social sciences.
The fundamental thing is whether we are going to promote professionalism in education or not. It's not a case of this ideology or that ideology. Where we have good, professional, excellent minds having freedom to work on their ideas or not. And this is the fear that now, from now on, what we are going to see is patronage to a particular kind of ideology in the field of education. And that is most alarming.
Okay. Ashok, when listening to all of them, which means that, and also Professor Chakrabarti, as Zoya says that, exploring, various aspects of education, coming out with your own work is something which you don't need a government to, patronize you. You think now, from what we are hearing, now there is a new government which has a new outlook towards education, so there will be a patronage for this kind of system, so these new ideas will now come up. How does it mesh?
See, first of all, I don't agree with this debate of left wing, right wing. It's again a very confined to very limited people. The thing is, when we were in the school, there used to be chapters on Mohenjo-daro, Harappa. On one hand, we claim that we have an ancient civilization of 5,000 years. Plenty of things very good in that. And gradually what we see is that all these good things, which is our traditional heritage, which is accepted by everybody, is missing from our curriculum. Now, if the incumbent government is trying... No, let me complete.
Okay, let him
when you talk only in terms of certain things being imposed,
it's not
where is
have you seen a textbook?
When we try to limit our ancient heritage, our history of 5,000 years, I don't think it can be labeled as an ideology of a particular party. So if we really feel proud of our heritage, why can't introduce those things in our education system?
Why?
When problem is the modern day education is belonging to all views. I was rather surprised to see left wing, right wing.
Okay.
So therefore, if this government is trying to introduce in the curriculum things about which we all feel proud of.
Okay, very quickly,
where is the imposition in that?
We're completely running out of time.
No. The thing is there any chapter on our ancient heritage in the present education system?
Please go through the textbooks before you make pronouncements. You have not seen the textbooks.
I learned about Kautilya and Aurobindo only in MA political science.
I can challenge you.
It is not there. Aurobindo is not taught in school.
Sit with me.
Chanakya is not taught in the school.
Okay, I think we're completely run out of time. I'm sorry.
You have not seen the textbooks.
Girish, if I may just
and you're simply criticizing.
I think the issue is not about Kautilya or about ancient India. I think the fundamental issue is that much of the kind of education's and ideology that is being pushed is anti-modern and anti-scientific.
Okay, I think on that note...
that is the issue.
Okay, sorry, on that note, we need to end. We're completely run out of time. But as we could see from the heat generated in this discussion, this is something which is controversial, which is very contentious. I'm sure these kind of debates hopefully will ensure that there'll be a more level playing field on all these things. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on The Big Picture same time tomorrow.